Hello, beautiful, and welcome to the Moms Talk Sex podcast with me, Mor Yelvington, your host. I am so honored that you are here listening, and even more excited to have the beautiful Tiffany here with me today. Hi, Tiffany.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm doing great. We're having a hailstorm outside, so if you hear any noise, that's what it is. I'm really excited for this conversation because it's going to be extra juicy and exciting for you. So, Tiffany, how about you share a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do in the world?
Again, my name is Tiffany. I am a high conflict divorce coach. So, I work with women who have been domestically abused and going through the process of divorce or a custody situation or whatever. But I mean, the main focus is having been abused and how that affects their life, their kids' lives, and stuff like that. I was in an abusive relationship for about 25 years. And it has definitely taken its toll on myself, my struggles, my kids, all of those important things. So that's basically in a nutshell who I am. I'm a mom to four kids. Um, and I guess that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah, and so I bring so many women on this show, moms, that share their different experiences. And, I've been working with women for 18 years now, helping them heal trauma, sexual trauma from their body and abuse. And so this is one of the times when I love having women here to really share their story and also to maybe share a little bit about how you got to be where you are right now. But maybe before we get to that, maybe a little bit about what was that awakening moment that you knew this couldn't go on anymore? Because I feel like so many times we aren't aware that we're in a bad situations, or maybe we are aware, but it's like, what was that pivotal moment that you were like, enough, I'm not doing this anymore?
So, it's interesting for me. My ex-husband is military, and we had had our challenges on and off for many years, and we moved from one state to another. And when we moved, I had a feeling that it would be the end of our relationship, or that we would leave that next duty station better than ever. And when we moved, I was lucky enough to come in contact with an amazing therapist. And as I was sharing my story with her and processing, what was going on in my house and childhood and all these things, she brought up domestic abuse, and in particular narcissistic abuse. And of course, we all think we know what narcissism is, but really the definition, the DSM definition of narcissistic personality disorder, is not what we all envision it to be. And so that's was really eye-opening for me. And I started doing a lot more research and things like that. And I had actually started planning an escape plan, as I like to refer to it in my business, but a plan to leave. Um, and he actually came home one night and said that he needed to make some. We had money that was put into each of our personal accounts from his pay, and he wanted to change those pays. And it just seemed very strange to me. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, he wanted my personal bank account information and a couple other things. And I was like, I don't think I'm going to share that with you. And it became a big, huge fight. And he then shared that he knew all about my personal stuff, how much money I had in my bank account, who I'd been talking to, like all of these things. And that one little argument over money was really what forced me to leave, but I had already planned on leaving. So it's
What did
always.
you learn? I'm curious when you were saying that. What did you learn about narcissists that you didn't know before? You said like what you thought it was and what it actually was completely different. And I feel like that could be very valuable to some of our
Oh,
listeners.
yes. So one of the big things is, we all in our society today, we fling around the word, that person's so narcissistic, because they're taking selfies and they're looking at themselves in the picture in the mirror, and they're, always worried about how they look and stuff like that. But true narcissism and narcissistic personality disorder is a lot more than that. They do definitely care about their image and how they present themselves, but they're also very insecure. They also have, I'm trying to think of how to explain it. They also are also, they're very insecure. They try and put on a show all the time. You know, their outside persona is not the same as their inside persona. They're very controlling and manipulative. They gaslight you. Um, they there's stalking. They like to stalk you and make sure that you're where you're supposed to be. um there's so many things that fall into to it compared to what we believe based on what society teaches us about people being narcissistic.
Yeah. So how did you find the strength inside of you to actually leave this relationship?
It was hard and it was scary. I had been a stay-at-home mom for 15 years, so I hadn't worked in 15 years. um but I just knew that I couldn't be with this person anymore. The abuse that had gone on, there was a lot of, besides controlling and gaslighting and manipulation. He would stalk me. He would, there wasn't a lot of physical violence that went on, but like he would pinch me under my arms and in between my legs to like mark his territory basically. And I had mentioned it to him and he's like, "Oh no, it's just because I love you." Um, and and there was a few other things that went on. Everything was very controlled and it had to be just his way. But I think the biggest thing was I had 3 young kids and I looked at my youngest child who was 4 at the time, and I thought to myself, what am I teaching my son? Like, what am I teaching him? And what am I teaching my daughters? Like, I'm teaching them that this is okay, how to treat another person. And I think that was the biggest thing. I was blessed or lucky enough to have a parent that supported me. And so I had a lot of support, but um, and that's one of the reasons that I do what I do now is that there wasn't anybody like myself out there. I literally was like jumping off a cliff into an abyss of nobody knew what it was like to try and negotiate or discuss anything with this person. They didn't understand some of the really deep down hidden things that I'd been through. Um, and even my dad, while he was very supportive of me leaving and he was there for me, like there was plenty of times that he didn't understand some of the things that were an issue with him. And why didn't he just, I mean, my ex-husband is the type of person that you can tell him that the sky's blue, but he'll argue with you all day long that the sky's actually purple. And you could give him all kinds of reasoning why it's really blue, but he'll still continue to, and so trying to get other people to understand this mindset of control and manipulation, and that you can't just explain to them that this is how it is very difficult.
Yeah. Wow. So really, how did you become what it is that you're doing today and supporting other women in your, I mean, because it's huge. I see so many women that have experienced so much pain and struggling, and then they really turn their pain into a tool to help other women. And I feel like that is such a virtue in this reality.
It is. So I had a degree in social work, and that's actually where I met my husband was in college when I was in my 20s. But like I said, I hadn't worked, and when we first separated, I decided to go back to school again and to get a degree in psychology. But as I was studying, I realized again that being a therapist, I was helping people process it, but I wasn't helping them through the whole journey, so to speak, of leaving them, healing on top of it, moving on with life, and coming out on the other side, more versed, more understanding, healed, prepared to co-parent with this person for the next 5, 10, 15, 18 years.
Mhm.
Um, and I had started working with a few people, but that just talking to them and helping them and helping them communicate with their ex-husband or their soon to be ex-husband. But I was pushed into be making it more um permanent by going into, finding a different coaching program. And I did a couple different little ones, but I somehow one day was doing social media and across a website, One Mom's Battle, run by Tina Swithin, and she's a big, huge supporter of women's rights, but also like the family court and how the family court works and how um, narcissism affects certain things. Because when I go into court or my clients go into court, the family court just sees us as a couple that can't get along. They don't see all the little things behind the camera, so to speak. And so she started a program for high conflict divorce coaches, and I enrolled in her program. And I mean, I've been doing it ever since. I think I don't know, I've been doing this for 6 years now, a little before COVID started. So
That's amazing. What would you say the biggest pleasure from your job is, from what you do, from your mission, from your coaching?
Um, helping women gain strength, rebuilding their life. I mean, I think that that's the biggest thing. So many women that leave abusive relationships, I mean, we leave because we're strong, but we still hear those voices in the back of our minds of, how we're not good enough. I mean, I was told many, many times that if I left him, I would have nothing. And not only would he keep the house and the kids, but I would never be able to rebuild my life from there. Um, and so helping my clients get to that point of rebuilding their life and seeing that they do have control over their life and having a voice.
I love that so much. Thank you so much for sharing this. I feel there's so many moms out there that are dealing with this kind of situation, and it is so important. I know maybe we didn't talk too much about sex, but when you're in this kind of relationship, you're probably not thinking about the sex. And the sex probably is absent, and if it's not, it's abusive and not loving and caring. So today's episode is definitely to give you the tools to step out of the abusive relationship and reaching out to Tiffany and really figuring out how you can stay safe and be safe. So if they want to find you, where's the best way to do that? What's the best way to do that?
I have a website. It's myhiddenscars.com. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram. Facebook, I believe it's My Hidden Scars, and Instagram is My Hidden Scars Coach. And I mean, I'm always here, happy to help. I offer a free initial consultation, and I work with everybody. So prices, I offer lots of scholarships because I know a lot of women leave abusive relationships with very little money, because like you said, not only is it physically, emotionally abusive, sexually abusive, but also financially abusive.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here and sharing your genius with us. I really appreciate it. And if you guys have any questions, concerns, please reach out in the comments. Reach out to Tiffany. We're here to support you in any way that we can. Thank you for tuning in, and I will tune in again with you next week. Bye.